Sasha, thank you for taking a moment out of your busy day to join us.
My pleasure, Seth.
We're trying something a little different today. As you, the viewer, may know, we recently launched a Discord server, and we've got this channel called Video Questions, and you can go in there, post a question, and we will answer it in a video. And so if you'd like to join the bluShift Discord server and interact with the team and the community and maybe post a question that will become a video, we'll have a link down in the video description. Our first question in this series comes from Astro Matthew. He asked, what influenced bluShift to use biofuel instead of traditional rocket fuel like RP1, or to paraphrase, methane, hydrogen? Why this fuel in specific? So Sasha, I wasn't around for this part, but my understanding is that there was not a meeting where you sat down with a list of the different fuels and just kind of decided, we're going to go with other. In fact, other was the goal, was the solution before there was a company. Summer 2013, you're the CEO of Alti, a successful solar company, and you are designing rocket engines on the side.
Yeah, I think actually this timeline kind of starts a few years before that, where I decide that I want to take all of my spare time and just devote to learning everything I can about, well, really spaceships, rockets, rocket engine design, different types of fuels, different types of rocket engines. And I probably soaked, I don't know, gosh, hundreds upon hundreds of hours just reading every book I could and every paper I could on different types of rocket engines. And one of the conclusions I came to was this use of, which is hardly original, but this use of hybrid rocket engines, not because they are higher performance than traditional liquid fuel rockets or simpler than solid fuel rockets, but because they're safer and inherently a little more environmentally sound and safe.
How are you finding these articles?
Yeah, so at the time, I was living in Costa Rica. So I would literally get textbooks sent to me from Amazon to Costa Rica. And then of course the internet's your friend and you can download so many papers on the internet. So I would do that. And then every 2 months I would be back in the US to go visit the folks at the headquarters for my solar company, Alti, and pick up more books and the like and take it back with me in my luggage. So it's a very focused effort, to sort of, I think what college prepares you for is learning, and you can choose to stop your learning at college or figure, well, okay, I've learned how to learn and I just got to learn more. And now I'm going to choose precisely what I want to learn. And that's exactly what I applied.
The big reason that there's so much safety there is because the fuel in most hybrid rocket engines is not combustible without an ignition source present. So you can't have these huge explosions like we often see with liquid propellant rockets.
Yeah, I often compare it to even though this is not the proprietary substance, like wood. Wood very rarely explodes, right? Our fuel has the same combustivity, same net TNT factor as wood. It doesn't blow up. And as soon as you have an oxidizer that's removed from intensely impinging upon the fuel, it just stops, it just smolders. It will not combust. So it's incredibly different from liquid fuel rockets.
At this point, are you just learning more about a lifelong passion and procedurally how to do this thing that you've always thought was cool, or are you working towards a company?
I think at that time I have the vague feeling that I want to build my own rocket, and I want to begin pushing humanity's limits and be part of that race, and feeling that as an entrepreneur, it's merely a choice to do it, and that it's attainable almost at an individual level. Turns out you need much more than one individual to do this, many more.
So you had this eureka moment, right? So you've been working on hybrid rocket motors for a number of years, and then you find this bio-derived solid fuel that actually outperforms industry standard synthetics. Was that serendipitous eureka moment when you decided, okay, we're making a company?
Yeah, it was actually very shortly after that. I mean, I knew that when we were doing the hybrid rocket engine test, this is where I wanted to go. I wanted to develop a company. But then when I realized I could do it in a way that was much more earth friendly,
Mhm.
then I felt extremely compelled to continue to pursue it as sort of a responsible, exciting new venture that nobody seems to be doing. What happened was in 2013, uh, we were doing some hybrid rocket engine tests, some really small ones, um, in chambers that were only 2 inches in diameter. And I was at my brother's farm in North Yarmouth, Maine. He's an organic farmer. And I happened to see a certain substance on his windowsill. And it was very similar to the substance that we were using in our hybrid rocket engine. And I thought, well, gosh, that was derived off his farm. Even if it doesn't quite perform as well as what we're using, which is petroleum derived, maybe it would work well enough, and it would be a whole lot greener. And at that time, I didn't even think about it in terms of carbon neutrality, but clearly now we figured out that it's very close to carbon neutral. It could be very much carbon neutral. And I said, let's give it a try. And that's when we tried it out. And that's, it was 2 weeks later, we spun up the grain and the fuel core, and we realized, oh, wow, we did the burn. It's fantastic. And it was clear that the performance was much better. So that's kind of what began the whole thing. And then I was like, why isn't anybody else doing this? This is a green fuel. It's relatively inexpensive. It can be derived from farms across the world. Why isn't everybody doing this? This is such a clear alternative to using petroleum, and it's non-toxic. It's easily derived. It can be made almost carbon neutral. Why not? Why doesn't everybody do this? So that's when it was a big, long push, and we got grants from the Maine Technology Institute to further examine not only that initial substance, but develop our sort of a proprietary fuel recipe. And we did, gosh, over the course of a couple of years, we did over 240 hybrid rocket engine tests and getting bigger and bigger engines. And now we're finally up to our full-size Marvel engine. But we did those tests using different blends of fuels. And yeah, so that's where it all began.
So on my end, I've gotten to see that using a brand new rocket fuel, which, by the way, we've put this question out a number of times. When's the last time that someone used a new rocket fuel? We don't know. We still haven't found an answer. So if anybody watching this knows, please reply in the comments. But there seems to be a little bit lower levels of investor confidence until we had demonstrated basically that Newton's laws still apply to this new fuel in flight, right? And after Stardust, we got just this deluge of interest that powered our crowdfunding campaign up to this point. So that was kind of an interesting drawback, not even related to the performance of the fuel, but as you were working with hybrid engines and trying to get a stable burn with this new fuel, what were some of the challenges that maybe you had to overcome that you might not have had to deal with if you just went with even a better understood biofuel like ethanol or biodiesel or something like that?
Yeah, so I mean, you certainly nailed onto one in which, if one of the challenges is that since it's a fuel that has really not been studied, you're starting at zero, right? And so people disbelieve it. People believe that if it's green, then there's always a sacrifice to it. And what we found is, at least for hybrid rockets, we actually had a net performance benefit, right? And then versus petroleum. And then, because rockets and rocket engines are so much focused on performance, and I kind of see the metaphor here, the analog being like CPUs and computers. And I've been one who's loved to put computers together, assemble my own. And there's that curve where you decide, if I want to have the very best CPU that's out there, I'm going to pay double, but I'll get maybe 4% more performance or 5%. Now in the rocket world, 4 or 5% means a lot, right? And so you can understand that, but there becomes this focus on getting the best of the best of the best of the best. And that comes at an extremely high cost. And it's not just financial, but it is also environmental. And so the decision for me has been, well, can we choose something that's just a little bit down the curve in terms of performance, a whole lot less expensive to develop, and a whole lot better for the planet to use? Turns out we can. Now, to do that, when we launched Stardust, the suggestion to launch Stardust when we did actually didn't come from me originally. It actually came from one of the potential investors we were in conversations with. He said, hey, look, there's like 130, 140 different companies that are developing rocket engines. Good for you. Great. I think it's cool what you're doing, but prove that you can actually launch a rocket. I don't care if you're launching a mile up, get some customers, recover your payload, give it back to the customers, and then we'll talk. And if you can do that, you will now become one of a small handful of companies that have actually launched anything and is developing a rocket. And so that is exactly what we did. We launched Stardust up about a mile. It was actually limited to a mile due to where we were launching from. We couldn't go any higher without potentially landing on somebody's house. And we had 2 paying customers. We had 1 giveaway customer, Falmouth High School. And we successfully launched. We actually landed almost perfectly where we, our optimal point. A lot of credit to Luke and the engineering team for analyzing that. And we handed the payloads back to our customers within an hour of it landing. Actually, probably even less. So we did all that, and that's really when we saw the dialogue change. And I really believe not only see that we had lots of coverage for being the first sort of commercially launched rocket using bio-derived fuel, but we changed the dialogue on, wait a minute, why shouldn't most rocket companies use a more environmentally friendly propellant solution? There's a lot of sort of greenwashing in all industries, actually, even in the renewable energy industry. But especially within the rocket industry, you see reference to green fuels. And a lot of them they might be green in the sense that they're originally derived from Earth, from plants or whatever, but they're toxic, or they're, the combustion products are toxic. And, I think that's where we really are different. We're trying to be Earth friendly from beginning to end. And you even see that with our engine test site, right? We're making this just like we've done for the last few years. We're making them solar powered. Why isn't everybody doing this? I mean, solar power is so much less expensive than traditional electricity nowadays. Why not everybody doing it? The campus we're on at Brunswick Landing, it is a big chunk of it is solar power. So I think this really goes to the core of who we are now and who we wanted to be, who we are, and who we're going to be in the future is an earth-friendly company, demonstrating how you can do exciting, profitable commerce in space, but in an earth-friendly and responsible fashion. And then, because of both our fuel and our oxidizer are non-toxic, if it ever lands in the ocean, and most rockets do, it will not contaminate the ecosystem below. And I think that's an incredible differentiator, an important, respectful differentiator for rocket companies across the world. We should all be trying to achieve something that's better if we're trying to go explore the universe, other planets, we really should be taking care of, our favorite one of them all, Earth. And it's like so many things. This happened in the solar industry. I remember when we started the solar company, Alt-E, back in '99. Seems crazy now, but people thought there were a large contingent of people that thought solar just doesn't work. It's never going to become economically competitive. And now almost nobody questions that. And I think the same thing is happening now in the rocket industry. Now people are wondering, why isn't everybody using more environmentally friendly solutions? And so you see the dialogue coming, well, okay, we're going to derive our methane from more sustainable sources. We're going to derive our liquid propellants from carbon capture methodologies and things like that. So I think that's really exciting. I think the fact that there is, although it's, a lot of this isn't happening yet, but that they are considering it and likely to adopt it down the road, that's good. If nothing else, we've made that, I'd like to say that we've contributed to making that impact in the industry and changed the dialogue after we launched Stardust. maybe I'm giving ourselves too much credit, but that dialogue did not occur in the media, and certainly not in the space industry, the aerospace industry media, until after our launch. There just wasn't much question around should space launch be more environmentally friendly, and I think we're seeing that now.
Well, Sasha, thank you again. Look forward to doing this again next week. And Astro Matthew, I hope we answered your question.
Yeah, thank you for asking.
Absolutely. If you want to join our Discord server and get kind of priority access for us answering your questions in this way, we'll have that link down in the video description. Keep those questions coming. We'll get back to you.